This week's episode of the Inside Running Podcast is proudly sponsored by ASICS. Stability has never felt better than with the Gel-Kayano 30. Updated with a 4D guidance system for support right when you need it and PureGEL technology for softer landings every time. Visit asics.com or your specialty running store to grab your pair today.
Being a skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place? Under cover of my skin, I've heard all your names. If it's all the same, I'll keep on walking.
Welcome to episode number 300 of the Inside Running Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another week. Just talking off air. Not a lot to talk about in the world of running this week, but I'm sure we'll still feel 60, 80 minutes of running chat. And massive appreciation for people tuning in. Welcome to my co-host. He's up in Canberra, 1 week out from his heart operation. Bradley Croker, how you going this week?
Good, thanks Brady, and congratulations boys on reaching 300.
300's good. Don't know if Moose celebrates the episode numbers or the years. Or was that you? I know one of you guys doesn't celebrate.
I can't remember what I was on.
Yeah.
I remember one of them, but now I just can't remember.
Yeah, I probably celebrate years more than episodes, but when you think about 300 weeks, and I was chatting to Viv the other day, trying to work out how many of the 300 weekly shows I've missed, and I reckon it would only be it would be a handful. Like I don't reckon it'd be any more than 5.
That's pretty good, yeah. I would have missed the most because I've done like Road to Valencia and Road to Gold Coast.
Yeah.
But then Moose, you wouldn't have missed many either over the years. Welcome to you, by the way, to this week's episode.
Thank you. I can't remember missing too many. A few here and there, but never a batch in a row.
Probably similar, Moose, like 5 or so.
Probably, about that. Trying to remember when.
I'll talk about a bit later the whole 300 episode, what we want to do with the listeners kind of thing. But the one thing I am proud of is that the show has come out for 300 consecutive weeks. Like, considering we've had, how many children in there? 5 children, couple of weddings, change in workplaces, living arrangements, marathons, sickness. I know
bushfires down the coast.
Bushfires, floods. My house nearly went under. Yeah. I think it's, yes, there's been some episodes where it hasn't been all 3 of us, but the show has continued to come out weekly for 300 weeks, which I think is probably the biggest achievement out of all the things.
It's a lot of podcasts start and finish real quick just because it's easy to get through the excitement period, which is, I guess, the honeymoon period. Early on, you're excited, you've got all these ideas, you've got a few guests rolling through that you've thought about for ages. And then all of a sudden, the guests dry up, the topics go a bit cold, there's a week without running news, that one of the hosts gets injured, and all of a sudden, fizzles, gone, see you later.
Yeah, listeners drop off. What about when we got through, COVID, when there was just no running news for, a year and a half? Every race just got cancelled.
That was podcast boom time.
I know, numbers went through the roof then, because no one could run with groups of people anymore.
Yeah.
I also think the podcast's been good for our running. Like, all of us have run PBs in the time that we've had the podcast running for. And I don't know, for me, especially in those early years, 27, end of 2017, when I had the disappointment of not finishing at Berlin and you guys running pretty well, it sort of gave me that motivation to get back on the horse and run well in 2018. And it also just kept you accountable every week of you got to get out there and train, because you got to get on, every Monday night and go through your training. So it certainly helped me, to stay sort of motivated and kept me accountable.
Yeah, and it's been interesting to see how podcasting's evolved as well. I think people know us now because of the podcast. We're not a certain status and then you start a podcast and build off the status you've already got, if that makes sense. Whereas now I feel like everyone who's popular or a decent runner now just creates a podcast, and that's just an add-on to their branding almost. So, yeah.
Podcasting's a cheap win now for companies too, and profiles, influencers. It's like, what's next? Oh, I do a podcast.
Yeah.
Of course I do a podcast. It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
I can put it together and, yeah.
I barely knew what a podcast was when we first started. I reckon you mentioning, Brady, that you do your own personal podcast was probably the first exposure I had to them with Tell Me Your Tales.
I remember that. I remember thinking, what a fucking loser this bloke is.
What's a podcast? Who does podcasting?
What a nerd.
Here we are, fellas. So I did an interview for another podcast the other day, and they were asking me about you two, what number you guys were on, Tell Me Your Tales, and I was trying to think about it. Do you guys know off the top of your head?
I was in 2 parts.
Yeah.
You think
I was pretty early, I reckon. Maybe.
Yeah, I said you were 4, and I said Croaks was about 8th.
Dane Verway before me, I reckon.
Here we go. Julian Spence, number 4. I've just found this.
Verway before me?
It's gone back to... I'd have to look it up. Sorry. Not sure. Yeah,
here we go. No, I'm 9 and 10, part 1 and part 2.
12th of March 2017, Moose.
Yeah, okay. So I don't even remember what I was building up for Great Ocean Road, perhaps then.
Episode 4, Julian Spence, 2-time Great Ocean Road Marathon winner, owner of the running company Ballarat, record holder, Bogle to Hotham trail race, and all-round ripping bloke.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, gee, you had to lie a bit in the intro to get listeners.
Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about some running stuff. Moose, do you want to go through your week first? Tell us about some marathon training. Got some people frothing on Strava over the week.
Really?
Yeah, you've been getting it. Why don't you start throwing down me?
In your DMs or something?
No, just on yours. I just see the kudos come up. I see the comments when you start dropping marathon workouts. That's a good thing, marathon training for Strava.
Yeah, it's not like that, though. It's, I don't know. I mean, it certainly wasn't a super session or anything like that. I'll get to it. But Monday, it was pretty beat up still from Bandura, and also Sunday, kind of like, snuck that long run in. Dom's Monday morning, so 4:56 is for the run, so pretty cruisy, that one. And then in the Arvo, 4:44s for 40 minutes. The next morning, what happened this day? Oh, I was off to Melbourne for, Ali had her testing this day, so I went up for that. And so I got a bit of a late start, I guess. Bree and I ran together, actually. So we ran from my mum's house and we just did a loop of town. That was quite good. Don't often get to run with Bree. I don't think we said a word to each other for like the first 20 minutes. It was beautiful. Just like tapping along, could hear each other's footsteps. But I reckon that's when you're comfortable with someone, when you can run along and not have to like create conversation. You're just comfortable with like silence. The afternoon, when I got back, I ran half an hour just up and over the cliffs. Pretty stupid, this one. It's like a hilly double. I was feeling pretty shit, so all this week I didn't go to work the next day. I just ran an hour. I was considering doing a workout, but I bailed out on it. I've had nausea for about 10 days up into this Wednesday that I'm talking about. So I would wake up and I would just feel nauseous. And I didn't really know why. I thought maybe I had like a virus, or I'd increase my calories just to handle the mileage a little more. And I thought it could have had something to do with that, which potentially it could have, because I started to eat some stuff I didn't normally eat. But then I worked out it wasn't that. Probably by Wednesday, it's a bit of a side effect, I think, from some anxiety stuff I was having. Like I had a few other symptoms of that, which I often get like stomach issues from. And I think there is a link between your mental state and your stomach health. I don't know whether one causes the other. Because sometimes I've had like a bad stomach and it definitely like has me down in the like in the mood sort of in the mood space. But so I think they play into each other's hands, and I just couldn't, like I was gagging on a lot of these runs, like dry reaching. I thought I'm not actually ready to do a workout yet. So I had the day off, and that day off work really helped me, because by the afternoon I felt good. So I went out with Ali just for 30 minutes, and I reckon I was back on track here. So Thursday morning I did a workout. It wasn't a crazy workout. I wanted something to come off Bandura and into a marathon weekend. So it was just a threshold. It was 4 by 7 minutes to heart rate. I didn't have pace or anything showing. I made sure I did it on a loop that's not that fast, just because I didn't want that to be a factor in the workout. I just wanted to go off intensity. So the first rep was 3:22 pace, and then 90 seconds I had between them. Second rep 3:14, and then third rep 3:16, fourth rep 3:18. So I got a little slower towards the end, but it's a pretty bumpy track, this, and I didn't really care what the pace was. I was pretty happy to see those paces at the end. Just like that's okay for my threshold work. And then I think I didn't double. I went up to the Loyal Kana concert. So that was actually awesome. Big performer. I never really, like, I listened to his music a lot, but I've never really seen videos of him or anything. Like, I don't really use YouTube much. So it was pretty cool to see him, like, in his element. And the crowd was, like, super young. Bree and I would have been in the, like, 10% of the oldest people there. So that was funny. But it was great. The show was awesome. I don't go to live music much at all, and going up to the city, the things I hate about it, but there's also, like, this energy that you just don't get in a small town, like crazy energy in it, like live music venue, a Palais Theatre. It's like such a spectacular building. So there's some cool stuff like that you do miss out on in small towns. But I ran the next day on the tan, so I did 3 laps back to the hotel. I ran in the Saucony Kinvara Pro, which is a shoe that's about to release. It's a high stack plated training shoe. It's got 2 different foams in it. It's got, like, their super foam and also their real stable foam. It's quite a firm feeling shoe. Some people will really like it. It might be on the firm side for me. Saturday morning, I ran with Ali. We went on a trail run, so I got these new shoes, the New Balance Super Comp Trail, and I wanted to test them. And Ali just got a pair too, so I wanted to get on some proper trails to give him a shout. So Ali made a loop, actually, and a lot of it was single track. If you get my Strava up, check out how good this trail looks, boys.
Yeah, I looked at the video. Bit of influencing.
How about that green moss on the side into, like, a soft dirt? Oh, just incredible.
Is it like that the whole way, or does it get, like, rough and narrower?
That's why I said to Ali, I'm like, if fake news social media would say, just ran an hour on this, straight out my back step, do it every day. There's like a 1K section of like this. It's an awesome part of the track. We did get some pretty cool trails as well, but these shoes really like the single track. A bit of softness underfoot. They're a bit firmer on the dirt roads, which we did get onto. But I felt pretty good on this one. There was a fast pace for that trail run, actually. I doubled that night, so half an hour, just cruisy around town. Ran up to the footy to see if they were still playing. They weren't. So, cool story, that one. Marathon workout on the Sunday. So I've kind of been looking forward to this one. It's like the first proper marathon session I've done in ages. I wanted to run steady for 20k over some hills, and then I had a 15k progression planned after that. So I would change shoes I just put a bottle out on the car. The first road that we ran on, Gunflats Road, is a dirt road, and it's like got some undulations in it. So that's pretty much where the only hills were on this run. At the end where I did the workout, it was pretty flat, but it's pretty decent climb up, and then you sort of run back to the car and then back up a steep hill at the end. So I think we averaged 4:10 for that period, then changed shoes, probably about I'm going to say a 5-minute turnaround. I don't know for sure, but it wasn't that long, and I had a real high heart rate at the top of that hill. Like, I pushed up that last hill, so when I was getting changed, my heart rate was still banging. And then I got into the reps. So it's 3x5K. It's 3x5K continuous, so there was no gaps. The plan was to hit 335, 330, 325, just with the probably thought that I'm about 325 marathon shape right now, maybe a little fitter, but I don't want to push anything. So hitting marathon pace for 5K at the end of 35K is a pretty difficult thing to do, and I don't have that history over the last 3 or 4 years of doing workouts like this, and so I thought it would be difficult for me. I couldn't get comfortable here, so I took off the first 5K. I just couldn't get my rhythm right, so I was slapping away. The shoes felt shit. I wore the Next Percent 3. It's the first sort of bad experience I had with them. And it wasn't a shoe thing. It was just my legs just weren't feeling comfortable, and I couldn't find the right rhythm. So I ran 3:33 pace, but that's not because I felt good and 3:35 was too slow. That was because I couldn't find the rhythm I wanted. So I wasn't stoked to run faster for that section. I was actually a little disappointed because I wanted to be disciplined with this.
Can I just ask, Moose, what did you do between the 20K and the 5K? Like, you do some strides and stuff?
Nah, not for this.
So you reckon you felt a bit sluggish? You changed shoes though, didn't you? Yeah.
I straight to the car, chucked the shoe on, had a sip of drink, and off I went. Yeah. So I'm going to say 5 minutes. It was. Normally I can pull that off. Okay. I wanted to keep it as close as possible without a break, just so it was more like one continuous run rather than long warm-up workout. And I was just so keen to get into it. Like, I was really looking forward to it. And so I just wanted to basically just jump in. I turned around. It started to get a bit windy by now. I turned around and I had a downhill for a downhill, but also a downwind for the next 5K. So once I ran the 3:33s, I'm like, all right, I'll try to drop 5 seconds a K from here in. That would be a good progression like planned. The next 5K was the easiest by far because I went downhill, but I had the wind behind me. And then I turned around and I had the last 5K. And this is where I lost, I sort of lost the plan a little bit because I turned and the wind was strong. So it was probably 20, 30K an hour headwind. And I was forcing myself into it rather than relaxing and just accepting that it would be slower because I think this is where I just became that old runner again, where if you've got a progression run planned and your third block of a 3-block progression gets slower, that's a bad feeling. And so I made a bad call. I pushed too hard here. Heart rate reflects it. Heart rate of the last 2 reps was 156, 162. This one was 175. So this is over threshold. I ran 3.5K into the wind. I averaged 3:24s or something. And then I turned around to go back to the car, 1,500 meters, and ran 3:10s. And it was felt like nothing. My heart rate dropped back to 170 or something, I think. So it just felt easy at the end, but I still cooked the workout a little. Anyway, cool down 2K, so it's 37K. It was a good day. I felt really good in the afternoon. I didn't feel beat up. I've had way more tougher long runs than this over the hills. And today I was tired, but I have no sore spots. So overall it was good. And I think I ran 142K or something like that for the week, which was my biggest week for probably since I had my knee up, I reckon. Or, yeah, maybe about that.
Moose, because you had the heart rate monitor on, because I know, like, if you're doing a progression run and you don't have the heart rate monitor on, you're more likely to just go, all right, like I know I'm working hard, but I'm going to do what my program had, and that means run the last rep the fastest. But then when your heart rate starts to get over 170 and you know you're well above sort of marathon effort, did you at any point think about like dialing it back?
Yeah, I didn't have my heart rate showing, so I didn't know. I did, but I also don't really like. I'm kind of picking marathon pace out of the sky at the moment, like out of nothing, and I'm saying, oh, this is probably it. In my head, like I don't fully know where it is. I knew it was too hard at the time. Don't get me wrong. Like the effort level was too hard, but because I didn't have a solid plan of pace like before the workout because of the wind through things, and I thought, geez, I've got looked after the second block. I'm like, maybe I need to I got looked after with this downhill and I didn't push the pace on it. It probably allows me to push the pace on the way back. In retrospect, I should have probably gone a bit faster on the second rep and used the tailwind and actually ran to the effort I should have. And then on the way back, I probably should have slowed down. And the paces may have looked exactly the same, but the progression was in the effort.
It's a good run though. Like, do you find, because obviously when you said you felt a bit sluggish or trying to find that rhythm, like you haven't done any of these for a very long time, and you'd probably agree with me in that like this is on the larger side for a first introductory like hard Sunday long run, but you have to do this because Sydney's not that many weeks away.
Yeah,
yeah.
The 15K, this is why I should have run it slower too, like because of that. So I didn't really want to hit this type of effort at the end. Like I wanted to run 35K, and this 15K, if I went and did, so what was my, if I went and did 15K as just a workout on a Thursday or something and averaged, let's say like 326s, I don't know what the average is, 326,
about
27.
that.
Yeah. I would go, yep, that's a good workout, that. Like, regardless, and then I got 20K before it. So it is a big workout. Probably didn't give it the credit it needed. I probably needed, like, for this to be a better workout for me here, like in terms of risk versus reward and everything, I should have been around 330 pace average for that 15.
Yeah.
Because I'm just looking back, like you've jumped from 32 to 37K as well, like your longest run recently.
Yeah.
So you've done well to get through it.
Yeah, the long runs have felt good lately. I think some of those long runs we do, they feel harder than any workout I do during the week with the hills involved. And often the start of the run, like the average pace might end up being 4:10 for that long run. But the first K is normally 5:05. The second K is normally 4:50. And so like the average isn't a great reflection of how hard you tend to run for most of it. And so those hilly long runs really prepare you for intensity during long workouts, I think. Mm-hmm. Like you would know, Croaks, going up a hill at the 30K mark or the 32K mark of your long run is like doing an interval in the middle of a long run.
Yeah. Well, it's what I said when I was in Wagga, that long run. Like I was running at a sub 4 minute Ks for like 36K on the flat. Didn't need any nutrition. Didn't feel like my legs were banged up. Whereas 2 hours over the hills, probably 20 seconds a K slower, feels more like marathon, or how I feel towards the end of a marathon than what that hard run on the flat did. Yeah. So it definitely prepares you well for the marathon, those hills.
And that is where I think the secret lies. And I don't think we've ever sort of argued that, have we, on this show? Like the secret is in Sunday long runs in the hills, pushing the pace a bit, and all the great marathoners have done that.
I think we've spoken about it a fair bit in 300 episodes. Yeah,
but I think like it prepares you for this period. So that's probably the best takeaway, is you can go into these workouts prepared, and you can condition to it. And so I can do this 37K and wake up the next day and actually feel much better than if I did 37K easy on the hills.
It's the same moves with, I like to get a lot of my athletes in that pre-marathon period to do some like 30 to 40 minute sessions over hills where, time's really irrelevant, but it's just building that strength so that when they get onto the flat, although they're probably running for an extra 15, 20 minutes, it almost feels easier than some of those 40-minute sessions over the hills.
Yeah. There are no secrets, but this is close to a secret. Brady, I know you feel left out.
No, I'm just looking back at that. Remember that hilly loop I was running on a bit before Gold Coast? Just trying to see how many meters that and stuff was. Yeah, I 100% get it. It's doing the work to be able to do the work.
Yeah. I was talking actually about this to Ali, and I'm like, I think we should have our guys running at least 30K 3 weeks out of 4 of the month. And those 3 weeks out of 4 should also be over hills. And Sean Crichton was like, what, every week for a year over 35 or something? I reckon that was one of his one of the points.
2.5 hours, not 2 hours anymore.
Yeah. So
become accustomed to just doing 2 hour long runs.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. 2.5 versus 2. Because that last 30 minutes, that's when the adaptations happen.
Yeah, and especially if you're doing Friday workouts. Like, there's no reason why you couldn't be going a bit longer on a Sunday and or making it a bit steadier.
Yeah, and if you're doing 140, 160K a week, you should be doing 32 to 35K long runs, maybe more. There's no reason you should be at 26, 28 with that sort of mileage.
Yeah, not just 10 weeks out from the marathon start doing that.
Yeah.
Imagine doing it for 40 of the 52 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, before my heart stuff, I wanted to bring in like a month cycle where I would have one long run over hills, but just time on feet. So like 2.5 hours. I'd have one run that was a fast finish, so maybe like the last 5K at sort of closer to marathon sort of pace. And then I'd have one steady state run where I might run for like 90 minutes to an hour 40 at like that 3:35s, 3:40s, and then probably have like an easier Sunday where I feel like you just cover all bases in that month in terms of just pretty good sort of marathon specific stuff without really, getting too close to the fire.
Yeah. I like to keep a steady hilly long run in the build, even for those like 6-7 weeks out from a race, for sure.
Give us a life update, Croaks. What have you been doing? Counting down the days.
Yeah, so had today. I spoke to 5 people from the hospital, all via their equivalent of Zoom. So like a nurse, an anaesthetist, a cardiologist, and then an electrophysiologist gave me a call as well this afternoon, just going through like what to expect. All the risks, like there were just so many risks that you sort of just switch off after a while. Like there's a risk of this, risk of that, and it's like, yeah, it's low. Are you still happy to go through with the procedure? And I'm like, yeah, I am. So, not too much to report. Viv's wanting us to get my will in order. So I'm not sure whether that's a good sign. But no, looking forward to going down and getting it done, and hopefully get back jogging at some point. Not sure when that'll be.
Yeah, don't need to rush that.
When is it again?
Next Monday.
Next Monday.
Next Monday, yeah.
Yes, right. I'm driving down Sunday with Viv, and the kids are staying here with Viv's parents, and then I got to be at the hospital at like 7 a.m. on Monday, and then depending on what happens, I'll either be released like late on Monday or have to stay in overnight and then get released on Tuesday.
Pretty efficient, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been good.
Come out the same day.
Yeah. So and then they said I can't, I think, drive for 3 days. I asked the guy today in terms of how long afterwards until I could start running, and he said, well, where they go in through the groin, like generally 2 weeks for that to sort of fully heal and like no lifting and stuff like that. But then he said, look, from the heart point of view, like we are going in and we are like burning off part of like the heart. So, you are going to get more sort of scarring. So he seemed to think it was like, another month or something, like month or two. But it obviously also depends on what they find when they go in. So they're probably, those questions will probably be answered after I come out of surgery.
Knock over surgery first before worrying about when you can do a long run.
Yeah. I've been pretty patient though. It's been it's been 5 weeks now, I think, since I actually had a run.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. I'll whistle through this week, fellas. Just a pretty basic week at my end. 70 minutes on Monday. Actually, I ran with your mate, Moose, Sebastian, from down your way. Sebastian Kent.
Yeah. His dad coached me at footy.
Yeah, we were talking a lot about footy, actually. He's good for a chat. Talking about some parenting stuff because he's got a young daughter. Talking about local footy. He was up holidaying in Echuca, Moama, so met up with him.
Holidaying in Echuca, Moama.
Yeah, tourist town, Moose. Where else would you rather be?
It's still crazy to think that's a thing.
Should have seen here over the weekend. There was this massive winter blues festival, just like thousands of people in town. Couldn't get a park anywhere. Anyway, should have taken some video for you. Did 70 minutes at 4:21s, so that was good to have some company. Tuesday, I thought I was ready for a workout, but I just wanted to give it an extra day. So I'm still a bit tender in the hammies off the back of Bundoora. So I just did 20k at 4:23 pace, and then Wednesday I did do a workout. My watch went flat halfway through it though, so I did 5 by 5 minutes. My watch died, I think, in the fourth rep, but I was doing an out and back one, so I knew roughly where I had to stop, and then I could still see time of day on my watch. So then I just waited for the next minute to tick over after I'd stopped, and then did another 5 minutes. And it was quite good doing a workout where you couldn't see any pace. I'm just like, this is threshold. Let's just do the workout, and then what it is, who knows? But it's all good. First 3 were kind of at about 3:15 pace though. Pretty foggy, dark. This was the day I went to Melbourne and back with the kids to the Royal Children's Hospital. So had to kind of get done and home by, I think, 7:30. We were out the door at 8 a.m. So big day. Kids allergic to eggs, peanuts, bananas. That's Olivia, those 3. And Hudson's still allergic to peanuts and garden peas. So we've got a couple of EpiPens.
Garden peas?
Yeah, he's allergic to garden peas and peanuts.
What? So I never heard of someone being allergic to garden peas.
Yeah, no, neither had I, until even the lady testing him. I remember last year when she first did it, she couldn't believe it either. So yeah, but we've got to take Olivia back to do, she's got to see if she's allergic to baked egg. So which hopefully she's not, because baked egg, that's in a lot of stuff. So
what do you mean baked egg?
So egg in bakery products kind of thing, cakes, breads. Yeah.
So pastas. She's allergic to raw egg.
She's allergic to raw egg so far, and then they do this 4-hour procedure where they have nurses actually in the room and stuff, and they kind of see what her limit is with the baked egg. Jesus. I think actually trying to get a reaction to then use the EpiPens, I suppose. So that was fun day. Thursday, 13k easy at 4:22s, and then I did 10k in the afternoon. We got that local fun run that I help organise coming up this coming weekend, and a part of my course. Can you guys remember months ago I was measuring these courses out and getting them sorted and things like that? Anyway, yes. Since then, a part of the course is flooded, so I've had to change the course up. So I'm back measuring courses and making sure they're spot on and stuff. So I did the 10k course after work, and it was pretty close, still a bit off. Friday morning I did a workout. This was grim, dark, hammering down rain, and just feels like it's the middle of the night at 6 a.m. But did 8 by 2 minutes at around 3:03, 3:04 kind of pace, off a minute shuffle jog. Pretty basic workout. I could have done 10 reps, but this week was all about just get it done. Don't push it, still 4 weeks after a marathon. Just, you'll want somewhere to go in the next couple of weeks. And then afterwards, once you get workouts done in terrible weather, it's just the best feeling. I was just up and about afterwards in the cool down. Sun was coming up. That was good. And then Friday afternoon, I ran the 5K course of this fun run just to make sure that was all good. Saturday, 10K easy at 4:30s. And then Sunday, I did the half marathon course of this fun run. It was 30K in total. My run at 4:07s felt really nice. It was good. Feel reasonably fit, which is good. Have like this market though that I had to run through. Like, you guys have markets in your town, like farmers markets, and then like this one's like the Carney market. You guys got a Carney market?
Don't think so.
We have like
we
public holiday markets, like New Year's Day market and Easter market and stuff.
Yeah, this one's like, I don't know, the last Saturday or Sunday of every month or something. But it's just like they just sell weird stuff there.
Yeah, like fake hoodies, like like in the yeah. I know that.
Data Divinity.
Real like Croaks type lookalikes.
Yeah, Monster Energy hats, and then the next stall's selling like, I don't know, like fake jewellery, and then the one after that selling like dog bowls, and then there's some guy like cooking a barbecue selling like bacon and egg rolls for like $10, and
that's the local like cricket club that does that. And
well, there was kids from school working the barbie at one of them. I'm like, these kids are like 10, and I'm like, you can't go charge me $10 for a bacon egg roll when there's a kid from school cooking it.
No, we actually do have one of those markets. That's where we got Russell from.
Oh, did you?
Hall Markets, not far from here.
Well, they're on like animals.
Yeah, they have animals there as well.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What, is it legal?
Yeah, it's all legal.
Okay.
It sounds a bit dodgy.
Anyway, so here I am running through the middle of the market because it's my half marathon course in like half tights, and these like carny salesmen are looking at me like, why are you running through here, mate? But I had to run on the exact path the race is going to go on to just make sure it was right. And it's good. It's all set up. My week was 134K. Looking forward to building a few layers on that going forward. If you do fancy a fun run in Echuca Moama though this weekend, 10K, half marathon, 5K, come along. See some of the
What's it cost to run the 10?
Not sure, to be honest. I should know those. It's all for charity. All money goes directly to community living and respite services, building houses for people with disability in Echuca Moama, which is kind of cool because you run past, like, if you're a local, I run past these houses now and I'm like, oh, that house wasn't there 3 or 4 years ago, and we did this fundraiser, and now there's a house helping people who need it. What's it cost? I don't know. Oh, here we go. Nah, it's for the tops. I should have known that. It'd be more expensive now because it's the race, the week of the race. But I don't know, $50 maybe. Don't know.
You don't know off your website.
Wow, I'm trying to scroll down now and try and find
How do I enter then if I don't know how much it costs?
Oh, here we go. Register for Jono's Run. Just Google. It's called Jono's Run. Just Google Jono's Run 2023. $10 on the day is $80.
$10 and it's $80 on the day.
No, 10K is $80 on the day.
Oh, right.
74. Early bird was 64. That's for adults. Kids' price is obviously cheaper. I'll put the link in the show notes. Let's thank some Patreon supporters. Croaks, who you got?
I've got Ketil Monson from Bergen in Norway. Now, I don't have all of his PBs, but in 2022, he ran 2:36 at Hamburg Marathon, 2:32 in Berlin, and 2:34 in Valencia. He ran 73:49 at this year's BCM half marathon, and he's hoping to break 2 hours 30 this year, either at Berlin or Valencia, and he's a father of 3. So thanks for your support, and good luck with either Berlin or Valencia. Not a bad hit list there, is it? Hamburg, Berlin and Valencia.
I was talking about this exactly the other day. No, but how easy is it when you live overseas? Imagine just getting on a flight instead of like just 2 hours, bang, you can do Berlin Marathon.
Yeah, and if Berlin's not your day, you can just reload and do Valencia a couple of months later.
As Australians, that's like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get over there and do that.
Yeah.
You could do it all in 3 or 4 months. Moose, who are you thinking?
Yeah, I've got Ben Rouse. He's from Ascot Vale in Victoria. He's got a PB of 16:13 from the 2023 Box Hill Burn, 34:29 at last year's Zatopek graded race, 78:47 for the half in the 2022 Run Melbourne, and the recent edition of Gold Coast, he ran 2:48. I'm just trying to do some quick math in my head. I reckon there's a little bit left in the tank for that marathon there. Yeah, probably got some time up his sleeve. He runs for Essendon. And what are they, Div 2, Brady?
Maybe. They were a powerhouse back in the day.
Yeah, they used to go all right back then, didn't they?
They did. Do you want me to look up Results Hub, Moose?
Nah, don't do that.
You know I love looking up Results Hub.
It's your favourite website.
You want to know any AV results? Let me know. I'll search them.
Geez, didn't I make a funny joke about that the other day about Zaka?
Yeah.
Good get. Geez, I'm funny, aren't I?
I did like that, yeah. Essendon Div 2, sitting 11th at the moment, though.
Div 2, yeah. Ooh, Div 3 next year.
Nah, there's 3 teams behind them.
Yeah, right. Yes, so he's also spent time in Myanmar, which formerly known as Burma. Thanks, Croaks, for that.
No worries.
Good on you, Ben.
Good geography there. I'm going to thank Nick Peterson from Liverpool in the UK. Power of 10 profile, has his PBs at 16:01 at the 2023 Christleton 5K, 33:43 at the St Helens 10K, and 75:26 at the SR4 Village half marathon, and 2:45 at the 2023 London Marathon. So it's the same thing with Ben Moose, low 16-minute guys running 2:45 and 2:48. I'm just thinking about our guys on road to Berlin, which we'll talk about. They're both trying to break 2:40, and are they that quick for 5K?
No, Rob's run like 16:40, 16:50, and he's running at 2:40.
Yeah, I don't know. Jimmy's PB in the 5s. Doesn't run a lot of 5s, that's for sure.
Would you say it was 16 low, though?
No.
Yeah, so they're doing it the opposite way of these guys. So hopefully these Patreon supporters are listening to those guys on there. We also think that Nick might be a consultant orthopedic surgeon. Jeez.
Jesus.
Here we go. That's a good job title, isn't it? I love that.
Well, yeah. Might be I guess there's 2 ways to look at this. Could be real busy, and so doesn't get much time to train, or...
It's still going pretty well for a guy who hasn't had time to train, 16:01.
Yeah. So maybe he just puts it all into quality over quantity. Can't get the mileage in.
Oh, yeah, maybe. That's good. Thanks, Nick, Ben, Katil. Patrons, you guys got road to Berlin last week. Hope you enjoyed episode number 1. I had fun recording with those guys. Could not believe the chemistry, fellas.
Wasn't it?
They were great.
It was very good.
And that's why we often put one of us on the early episodes, just to make sure it stays on the rails and they know what they're doing and stuff. But I could have easily not been there. They were great, those 3 fellas. It's about... Sorry, I was just going to say, it really says a lot about people who work in jobs where you've got to talk to people too. Absolutely no offence to some of the elite athletes that we've had on those series and stuff, but the way they interact and communicate, obviously, doing it so much in their workplaces, it shone through very heavy then.
Yeah, and I think it also struck a chord with, because most of our Road 2 series have always been, the top end, people trying to break the 220 or the women in the mid 220s. And, we've got a couple of the, not recreational runners. Rob would happily be called a recreational runner, but it struck a chord with those people in that sort of 240 to 3 hour range, or, the people that are running 3 hours now that hope to eventually get to breaking 240, and they can see sort of what training people do to do that. So it's maybe a little bit more relatable, which was evident in how many, I don't think we've ever received that many positive messages after episode 1 of a Road 2 series.
Oh, no.
So many.
Even on my private DMs, even today, people are like, wow, how did you put these 3 guys together? And I'm just like, we just fluked it, but hey, it worked.
Yeah, it could be a combination of things. I also reckon they just they got good chemistry from the gun. So I've seen Jimmy in action with his talking. I mean, he talks to 50 people a day in the store, so he's very good at that. But he can often get real nerdy with the running, which is probably what we need. And I just thought I was listening along, going, "Geez, this is good content here."
Yeah, 3 Longworth brothers.
Yeah, I would just wish Brady would shut up a bit and let him talk more.
Well, I won't be on there again, I don't think. That's me run and done.
Yeah, well, we'll let Croaks baby his boy, Rob. get on there. I was hoping you might take him to task a bit, Brady. Like, you know how you used to do with Ed and with Tim.
Take him to task. What do you mean?
Like, just question them a little bit.
Oh,
Brady never did that.
Nah,
it's the first episode.
It was you.
First episode. Just had to get it smooth off, take it off the runway, get it in the air.
Jimmy needs to be challenged a little on his training.
He was going all right.
Croaks, you've got to get into him this week. Get a real soft Sunday session. You'll have to have a look at it.
I'll go through his Strava with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah, good one.
That's on patreon.com/Inside Running Podcast if you'd like to support the show. There's 3 levels over there. Get heaps of different benefits depending on what level you're on. It's all documented. Thanks to the amazing legends, though, who are over there. To episode 300, we spoke about at the top of the show. Definitely wouldn't have got here without those legends over on Patreon. It's a very small percentage of our listeners who support the show financially to make sure it comes alive each and every week for the benefit of everyone else. So if you want to help out those people over on Patreon, help us out, that's where you do that.
This week's episode of the Inside Running Podcast is proudly sponsored by ASICS. Stability has never felt better than with the Gel-Kayano 30. Reimagine stability. New 4D guidance system provides adaptive and on-demand stability, supporting runners in every step of their run. Softer landings. New PureGEL technology for enhanced shock absorption, softer landings and smoother transitions. More cushioning. New lightweight FF Blast plus eco cushioning and an increased 4mm in stack height means an even more comfortable ride. A lighter footprint for a brighter tomorrow. The Gel-Kayano 30's carbon footprint is 14% lower than the industry average, a study conducted by MIT. Visit asics.com or your specialty running store to grab your pair today.
Running news, Croaks, it's pretty light on, but the big story early on in the week was Oli Hoare pulling out of the World Champs.
So I think all of us found out via his Instagram account. So I've got it written down here what he wrote. So I think I'll just read it out. So he's in St. Moritz at the moment, and he was able to get some treatment and an MRI to figure out what the discomfort was, and the news wasn't great. I have a small grade 1 sports hernia and significant swelling in the pubic symphysis, athletic pubalgia, which means I had 2 options. First option, I could continue to Worlds under painkillers to train and compete, which would probably make it worse. Then after, try to begin the process of recovery and the possibility of surgery, making it a close call to the Olympic trials. The second option was shut down my year and focus on the recovery process now and be ready for the Olympic year. It's obviously an easy call looking in, but it was a hard decision to make for me. I had a disappointing Worlds last year, and this year felt like I could do something special. I worked so hard and feel like I couldn't showcase that, but that's life, and so many athletes go through the same struggle, if not worse. I'm heading back to Boulder tomorrow to start that process. Thank you to Dathan and the OAC team for their support. So, it's a bit of a blow.
Yeah, big name like that certainly is. And especially like the last World Champs, would have been good to see. Like, because he bowed out, didn't he, of the heats, and then went and won the gold at the Com Games. Yeah. And I know he kind of got the redemption for the Com Games, but I'm sure that still would have been on Ollie's mind to do it on the World Champs kind of stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like it hasn't been a great, like he's been running. Oh, it's funny. Like you say, he hasn't had a great season, but he broke the Australian record. But I think for him, and I think I mentioned it a few weeks ago, like last year, I felt like he was the guy that was potentially like the closest to Jakob in all of the races, or at least the one that was challenging him the most. Whereas this year, I feel like he sort of, although he's run faster, he's probably dropped back a little bit because most of his training group were beating him. So, last year I would have put him as like 2nd or 3rd in the world, whereas this year I've probably got him more like 6th or 7th, which, I don't know how long he's been running through this pain for, and that might have been a factor.
Yeah, that would have been, I'd say. So that opens the door, though, for some of our other 1,500 metre guys on the rankings to possibly get a start. I know you've got a whole lot of people who have qualified for World Champs here written down, but we might start with the men's 1,500. So Stewie's obviously a lock, and Adam Spencer because they've got the time.
Yeah.
Myers has got the time, and Oli, of course, but they're not going.
Mm-hmm.
So does that open the door for Matt Ramsden?
Potentially. So the 1500 has 56 spots, and so Stewie's ranked 13th on time, and Adam Spencer's ranked 21st on time. Oli was 9th, but he's obviously a scratching, and all of this comes from the World Athletics Road to Budapest site, which has where everybody's ranked.
Sorry, Croaks.
Yep.
Do you mean on time or do you mean on points?
No, so
because they've got the qualifier.
Yeah, because they've got the qualifying time.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so Oli at the moment's ranked 9th on that Road to Budapest table. So although he's scratched, he's still in as being selected in a way. So he's 9th, Stewie's 13th, Spencer's 21st, Myers has also got the time. Now, Ramsden's about 5 spots outside the quota on rankings points. So the only way he can get in now is if people pull out. So obviously Oli is one person that's going to pull out, and then he would probably need another 4 people from various countries to not take their spot for him to then move up into that 56.
And he ran 3:39 overnight in Luxembourg, didn't he?
Yeah, which probably won't help him.
Yeah, ran 3:35, his season best.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that'd be interesting waiting time for him. Other events, did you want to go from the top, like the men's? We'll do the men's first as we're on the 1500. So Joey Deng, Pete Bowl, and then those two are a lock.
Yeah, they're a lock because they've both got the time. So Deng's 13th, Bowl's 17th. Once again, the quota for the 800's 56. And Riley McGowan, as of like 8 a.m. this morning, was 52nd on the rankings, and they take 56. Now, the qualification period ended yesterday, but I'm just not sure whether, because there was a few races around the world yesterday, I'm not sure whether they have been factored into this road to Budapest on the World Athletics website. But at the moment, Riley McGowan is the 3rd Aussie, and he's inside the quota in 52nd place.
The Australian champion.
Yeah.
The 5K, they've taken 42. Stewie's got the time. Morgan McDonald's ranked 40th. And Kai Robinson is 5 spots outside the quota. Yeah. So a bit of a similar kind of wait and see for him to see if he slides up with people pulling out in front of him.
Yeah, because you've got to remember, for example, someone like Geordie Beamish. So Geordie Beamish is inside the quota for the 5K, but he might focus on the steeple and not do the 5K at Worlds, which would then open up one spot in the quota for the people that have missed out. So Kai would be, hoping that a few of those that are in the 42 decide not to, run it. Like, for example, Stewie might focus on the 1500 and not run the 5K, which would open up another spot in that 42.
How's that process look? Like, for, say, Kai Robinson, seems like it'd be a pretty, convoluted sort of process of someone pulling out, then them having to offer that spot to the federation who decides if they go or not. Like, when does all this happen?
Yeah, well, I'm guessing within this week. I'm guessing what happens is the qualification period ended like yesterday. People would have a certain amount of time to basically either accept the spot or not, and then they would get rolled down from there.
Yeah.
And his ran quicker than Morgan. Oh, no, so Morgan ran that time earlier, like when it just opened, didn't he?
Yeah, we ran 13:19 last year. Yeah, so... Yeah,
and Kai's ran 13:20 this year, and I think Morgan's ran 13:24, 13:25 recently.
Yeah, so within the period,
you need a few, don't you?
But this is one of the issues with the quota or the point system is that somebody who's actually run slower than somebody else could make worlds. So for example, if we look at the women's 800, that Carly Thomas, we reported a couple of weeks back that she had broken 2 minutes. Now she's not even in the top five, even though she's run faster than some of the other girls, because she hasn't got enough points accrued and she hasn't run fast enough to be an automatic on the time.
Yeah, gotcha. Kai, did his world cross count for points?
Not for the 5K.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That would have been handy. Finish off the men's here. So in the 10K, we've got no Aussies, although Tim Vincent, because he's the Oceania champion, is ranked 27th, and they take 27, but Athletics Australia have in their policy that they will not take people as the area champion.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because Christian brought this to our attention because the guy in 28th is a Norwegian guy, and that he was wondering if Tim Vincent would go. And then we had to look it up. Tim had no idea about this until I showed him. I'm like, Tim, you're going to the world champs. You're ranked 27th from 27. He was stoked. And then we had to look at the policy and let him know that Athletics Australia have a clause in there to not take him.
Yeah.
So we
this is and I mean, there'll be people who look at this and go, "Oh, why wouldn't we take him? Like, he's qualified." But he's what's his PB? 28.
Well, I think that result he ran 29.50 at Townsville. And
yeah. So it's not realistic. I mean, you've got the UK athletics who won't send people who have been invited or qualified themselves. They're deciding not to send them, even ones that would offer to pay themselves. So do we feel the same about this? With Tim qualifying, do we agree with the criteria that they can decide whether they send them or not as area champion?
I agree with this one. Athletics Australia not sending Tim.
But okay, but why?
Because the times he's running for 10K and this performance are not world class. So
what happened if Brett Robinson ran this?
Yep.
Or if Pat Tiernan came over and won it, what about that?
But he'd also have some 27-20s next to his name.
Oh, but no. So you're saying it's person dependent,
and he's got runs on the board as an Olympic. He pretty much was in the lead pack to a lap to go.
But you know what it is? If we had Jack Rayner, so if Jack had run the qualifying time for the 10K, or was that
outside of the time period? Was it? Because he hasn't he?
Yes. No. So Jack's not in the quota. So Jack obviously, yeah. So it must be outside the period for Jack. I'll just bring up the men's 10K now here. So if Jack was inside the quota of 27, either based on points or hitting the time, I don't think Tim would actually be 27th. I think what World Athletics, and I'm not 100% sure of this, but what I'm thinking is if there's no Oceania athlete inside the quota, to make it a world championship, you need to have at least one athlete from or at least offer a spot to one athlete from every area around the world, whereas they wouldn't have to offer Tim the spot if Jack was, or anybody else, was inside the quota on their own merit based on time or points, because they would have had an Oceania athlete, competing anyway.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. Jeez, I'm glad you know about this stuff, Croaks, because you're doing a good job of explaining it here.
Yeah, I'm just guessing that's the case, but Jack's definitely not inside that top 27. Yeah.
Okay. Steeple, Matt Clark, they're taking 36. He's in 35th. Bucks is 5 spots outside the quota, so he's waiting on potentially people pulling out as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which steeple you wouldn't think many people pull out, would you? It's a very specialised event.
Yeah, I don't reckon people pull out of that. That's why they do steeple, to get to these championships.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not sure. So Bucks ran a 2K steeple overnight or over the weekend, and it was the second fastest time by an Aussie. Now, I'm not sure whether he gets points in a 2K steeple for Worlds, and I'm also not sure whether those points, if they do count, have been factored into this Road to Budapest website just yet, because it happened so, just recently.
Yeah, that's the men's. The women's, we talked about the 8, all kind of have. Kat Bissett's got the time, Abby Caldwell's got the time. Ali Sanford in 45th, they're taking 56. And then Tess Kersop-Cole, 2 spots outside, so she'd be 58th. But if Abby Caldwell doesn't want to go,
but we'll get
to
that.
1500, yeah.
But the issue here is, as I said before, so Carly Thomas has run faster than both Sanford and Kersop Cole, but she's like no chance of making world champs because she doesn't have enough points and her 159 wasn't fast enough to be an automatic qualifier. But the issue with Abby is if we go down to the 1500, we've got Lyndon Hall. We've got Lyndon Hall qualified on time in 7th place. We've got Jess Hull in 8th. We've got Georgia Griffith in 17th on time. And Caldwell is obviously in the 1500 on time, but she's run 0.29 slower than Georgia Griffith. So if AA decide to basically send the 3 fastest, then Abby Caldwell doesn't get selected in the 1500.
And then maybe has to go for that 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I thought she was almost a lock. What about her mile split? Wasn't that fast?
Yeah, but it's
split of the mile. Does that count?
Well, it would, but it's obviously still not fast enough to have got her above Georgia Griffith in the 15 times.
Jeez, it's so competitive.
Yep.
Georgia Griffith's gone a bit under the radar too, I reckon. That's a surprise to me. 5K, Jess Hull, she's in 15th of 42. Rose Davies, 27 of 42. And remind me of this person's...
Lauren
Ryan, 35th of 42. So that's good. She makes a team.
Mm-hmm.
What's her PB?
It's really like 1509.
Yeah.
Maybe 15.9, 15.10. Hang on, I'll just...
Sponsored by Under Armour
bring it
now.
up.
She's run a few 3Ks lately, and that looks like that's where she got some points from, maybe.
I'll have a look at how she got her points on this website. It's so she's got 3 5K results here. She's got a 15.24, a 15.17, and a 15.11. And
consistent.
and so she got like an additional 90. So not, you know how you get like place scores depending on the level of the competition. So her what was it, the LA Grand Prix that she ran 15.11 on the 26th of May, she finished second and got an additional like 90 points.
That's how you make teams now.
Yeah. And then she got like when was it? It was like a C category meet where she finished 4th, running 15.17. She got an additional 30 points. So you get these like additional points. So you obviously get like the point score for what time you run, but then you get an additional amount based on where you finish and what level the meet is.
Just comes down to season planning, knowing what races are being paced at what, who's running them, so you can finish higher in these to get higher place scores.
Yeah,
you need like the perfect storm of a good field that you can beat. So that it ensures a faster time, but you don't come 10th and get no place score.
Yeah, and this is relevant, for those people that like aren't hitting the standard.
Yeah, there'll be like a whole sub series of races, perfect for these people.
So then the 10K, no one, Leanne's highest ranked, but when we had her on the show, she was talking about the whole cross-country system to try to get points that way over in Europe that
Europeans
she couldn't access, and then there's girls that are way slower than her, higher ranked. So that's
a bit of a mess. It looks like that there was like a European cross-country season that was basically a gateway to the World 10K Championships.
Yeah.
And no one really probably knew about it, and it was only kind of accessible to Europeans because it's in Europe.
Because the times are so quick too.
Yeah.
No coincidence, no Australian men or women will represent Australia in the 10,000 metres. And then the steeple for the women, Amy Cashin, she's in 27th of 36. Cara Fee and Ryan is 30 of 36. And Emily Urbacher is 34 of 36. So we'll send those same 3 that we sent to the World Champs last year and Olympics. Maybe. Close. Throwing statements around. It's an interesting team on the whole of it. Like, I guess we've got the marathoners they've been named a while ago.
We should say that this is not the team.
Sorry,
this is our speculation of how it might play out. But just looking at the 10K is interesting for the women because the whole chat we're having about Tim Vincent, I don't see any Oceania athlete in the top 27 or 28 quota.
Who won it last year?
Remember
the year Ali and Sinead went up to do it, Moose, Townsville?
Yeah, I do. They actually ran pretty fast that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they haven't offered, like, it doesn't look like, you know, the 27th spot or 28th spot with, like, qualified because you're the Oceania champion has been put in the women's one. So I'm not sure. So maybe my theory about that's incorrect.
I've got no recollection of anyone even doing it. Sorry if you're the person who did it. I just can't remember. Anyway, we'll see what happens when they should name that team pretty quick then if all these points order gets sorted.
Mm-hmm.
The last bit of news here was our man Kelvin Kiptum. He's going to run Chicago Marathon because the elite fields were announced for Chicago. I kind of predicted this, didn't I? That he wouldn't go to Berlin with Kipchoge. He'd go somewhere. I thought he'd maybe go to Valencia again.
I thought he'd go back to Valencia.
Yeah, maybe.
What's his name?
Oh, no,
Christian. Christian made the call, yeah.
Yeah.
He was good, Christian.
Chapter
guy, they'll make that one all about. I don't like this. That every major or big city marathon is a one-man kind of 1 or 2 man show, and you can't all rock up to the same one. I guess that's Olympics and World Champs, but Christian was like, no, he won't run it because it's an NN have a relationship with that one, and he's not an NN athlete. So, yeah,
these are good fields. Like Chicago sometimes goes under the radar a little bit as a world marathon major, but you got Kiptum, you got Bashir Abdi. Benson Kipruto, Galen Rupp's having another go, and then like in the women's, you got Ruth Chepngetich, Jocelyn Chepgozgai, Genzebi Dababa, Emily Sisson, Sifan Hassan, like that's Emma Bates, like it's loaded.
It is, isn't it? Molly Seidel, past guest.
Yeah,
your mate Moose.
Past guest, that's good.
She was.
Good from you. Yeah, I know, but I just can't remember it.
So that was the big news out of Chicago, and that's all I've got for for can you tell I've had hardly any sleep tonight, fellas? My daughter was
up going good, mate?
10 p.m. to 2 a.m. last night. She was up for. It wasn't good. I'm all over the shop. Anyway.
Was she sick?
No, she just wouldn't sleep. I don't know what was going on. Anyway.
What do you mean? She just woke up crying at 10 p.m. and we didn't get her down till 2 a.m. Oh, that's a lot of time.
Carly did the first shift, then she kept crying. I did the second shift, and then maybe Carly again, then maybe, it was a shocker night. Anyway, the Kayano 30 shoe review, that's where we're moving to next. This is going to be exciting because this shoe moose had a bit of hype coming out of it.
Well,
on the billboards everywhere in Echuca, Moama. Did I tell you about this?
No.
Ran past our 2 sports stores that we've got. They got the big posters of it out the front.
Is that the billboard?
Well, not the billboard,
You're talking about their shop front?
Yeah, shop front window thing. Yeah.
So ASICS are paid for the shop front.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
But they go big with this shoe, don't they?
This is the Kayano. This is 30 years old, this shoe. This has been around for that amount of time. 30 years. It's the 30th version. But it's Kayano's never changed much. They would tweak an overlay here or there. They'd change where the gel sits. They'd sort of talk about it being a breakthrough in shoe technology every year. But this is the first time we've seen it significantly change in the whole history of me wearing shoes. So since 2008, I walked into a store, actually it was 2007, early, walked into an Athlete's Foot in Geelong, said I need to get fit, I need some new shoes, and stood on the thing in the middle. They go, this is your shoe right here, $260. And I'm like, that must be good. $260, I am getting the best fucking shoe ever right here. And everyone's had a Kayano, right? Have you both running Kayano?
Same experience.
I've had a Kayano.
The most expensive one.
Yeah. Everyone's had a Kayano. It's an Australian thing though. It's so big in Australia. We've just got this culture of Kayano. It's because we have a lot of small towns, sports powers and that in the small towns, and it's an easy win for a sports power to sell a Kayano to the local runner. Because why not? It's expensive. It must be good, and it's got support in it. That was quotation marks, and it's one of their more cushioned shoes. And again, cushioning. Who doesn't want that? So it's an easy win, and we used to enjoy in the store sort of having someone in a Kayano come in, and we asked them why they got that. And no one really knew why they got it. Some people liked it, others didn't like it. Some people it was good for, like functionally, and others it was terrible for. But now, like, this is the first Kayanos that I've actually liked to run in. Like, that I put this on tonight and went for a run in it. And I'm like, this is the shoe that I chose out of my entire shoe quiver to run in. So I was like, I'm pretty stoked with this shoe. There's some significant differences from the past models. Did you just want me to run through some specs to begin with?
Yeah, that'd be good.
So it's still not a light shoe. It's 303 grams. That's a men's 9, so certainly not a lightweight, and it never should be. This is like a supportive training shoe for a lot of the population, and our average population is overweight. So we should be making shoes for the average sort of punter rather than the elite runner. This is the shoe that will cover that. Heel height 40 mil, forefoot height 30 mil. So what that basically it's stacked. It's got the same sort of stack height as a Vaporfly at the back, up front 30 mil. That's a 10 mil drop. It's pretty conservative, but it has come down over the years from like 12 mil. Some of the ladies' Kayanos even used to be higher, I believe. So they're the sort of specs. The major difference to previous versions is the previous versions used to have support in the form of a medial post. So classic ASICS was you'd turn the shoe and look at the inside of it, and if it had a big block of grey foam under the arch, then that was medial support, and the idea was that it would control the foot that pronates, so rolls in, and the idea was that high density foam that sat underneath the medial arch and the heel, it doesn't compress, and so when it gets force applied to it, it won't soften, and the foot gets almost like a little correction back in that point because the rest of the foam around the foot is soft, especially on the outside. Now, there's a lot of, like, you guys have run in the Kayano Light, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Kayano Light was almost like a test case, a guinea pig for this type of new concept that they've got, where they offer support through the geometry of the shoe rather than adding in a different density foam. So if you look at the shoe, I'm not sure if you boys have it in front of you, but it's got like a convex cutout on the lateral sidewall of the midsole, and on the medial sidewall, it's a convex shape where it's almost like a bubble. And so the concave compresses, and the convex, that's like a lot of resistance to load just through the shape of the foam. So it's quite flared out there. It's the same as the Kayano Light was, but that's how it gives it support. It also has like a few other elements. Like if you look underneath a big medial platform, like they have a thing called a guidance line, and the guidance line is heavy to the lateral side, which means a much bigger medial slab of rubber, I guess, which provides resistance to a foot that might want to pronate a little more as well.
So will they still continue the light versions of these shoes?
No, they won't in the future.
Okay.
So the light
versions
will phase out, yeah. And this shoe here is much more cushioned than the Kayano Light. It is heavier, but that's like training shoes. I don't think people get too caught up in weight unless they want a real poppy one. For me, this, like, when I put my foot in this shoe compared to a lot of the other support shoes, I felt like a noticeable correction almost in my, like, I had a lot of resistance under the inside of my foot and heel, and my foot pronates a fair bit. And when I went for a run, I thought, geez, this is really altering my mechanics here, which is the exact point of the shoe for that sort of athlete. And I love that it's got more juice under the forefoot now, like a real thick padded area, where in the past a lot of this shoe has also always been really slappy to me, whereas now it's got a bit of a rocker, kind of like how the Nimbus 25 feels, but just a lot more stable and a bit firmer than that shoe. So it's got a really wide heel, and so when I'm beat up, when I'm on a super recovery run, I'm running 5-minute Ks, I often have a much slower cadence, and I land a bit more through my rear foot. And it basically just gives me like this insurance policy back there where I can put my foot down in pretty much any angle, and I know I've got coverage. Where you can't do that with a lot of these new age super trainers. They're pretty unforgiving. Like if you miss the mark, you're going to sink into the wrong part of the shoe, or it's going to feel really unstable. Whereas this shoe, it's almost like running for dummies. That's kind of how I feel about it. You can put you put your foot down at any point, and it just looks after you. Like if I was running in the dark, I would want a shoe that felt like this under my foot.
Yeah, right. So you said you wore it today. Will you wear it more for your double run than your bigger run in the morning?
Absolutely. This shoe will feel heavy and cumbersome to me the longer the run goes. And when I say that, the longer the run goes, the better I start feeling, the more the pace increases. And so that's where I want a shoe that does feel a little more lively, and I don't have a big slab of foam under my foot. So yeah, I put this on for 30 to 40 minute runs, and I run a bit slower pace. But for some people who don't run twice a day, and their whole purpose in running is to build mileage and do a lot of easy jogging, then this could potentially work for them, especially if they have those sort of mechanics that enjoy a bit more support. There's certainly people out there that appreciate a shoe that feels more stable to them underfoot, and if they are a little more mobile and they get a lot of medial deviation through that sort of ankle joint, then this shoe can help, I guess, stabilize that.
Yeah, first thing I thought about it was like, where does this fit? Like because I've only been doing single runs, the Super Blast has been getting a smashing at my place, because I'm just like, one run a day, that's the shoe of choice. Love that shoe to bits. So then when this arrived, I'm like, I don't want to wear it for a long run first up. So I kind of have introduced it in those like 50 to 60 minute kind of easy jogs. And I just think it's just a workhorse. Like it's not super sexy, spongy, up and about like I feel with the Super Blast or the Glide Ride. This is just a workhorse. I'm putting it on the day after workouts, or as you said, that second run of the day. And it's just not think twice about it, put it on your feet. You know you're going to be right.
But you're too light for this shoe. You're too light, you're too poppy. You've never really run in support shoes. So this is not a shoe for you.
Okay.
And that's where, like, having shoes sent out to us, we love it, of course, and it's great for testing. But this shoe is pretty niche in terms of who it's going to suit. And so I don't think it suits. And so I can't imagine that you would love this.
Yeah, you called that early.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't like, I'm not absolutely frothing it like I'm the Super Blast, but it's like, I respect it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can see its place, but it's not if I got that sitting next to the ASICS Super Blast, I'm going for the Super Blast.
Yeah, but do you wear Super Blast for your, like, 30-minute jogs as well?
No, not really, because I almost want to, like, save it.
Oh, yeah, okay. But you would, if you had an endless supply, you would wear that for your, like, 5-minute pace, real cruisy Monday mornings?
No, because I think it's important to mix it up a bit and not, like, overdo it in those super shoes, like super jogging shoes, because then I think you become accustomed to them. So I like having, like, I don't know, the term workhorse shoes on the go to be then when you put the other ones on, you feel like good. Well, not good, but you just feel that difference.
It's good to mix up shoes for your injury anyway, like for reducing injury. Yeah. So, it's smart to do that.
And I still do a lot in the, even today I was in the ASICS Gel-Kayano Light.
Yep.
Like that was, same thing. Like it's not something I get super excited about and tell heaps of people to go buy it. It's more just like, it's just a consistent thing in my rotation.
Yeah, it's nice to have different options.
Yeah.
Depending on how you feel too. Like I like to put on shoes when I'm feeling good that match my mood.
Yep.
If I'm feeling like beat up, sore, tired, not motivated, I need a shoe that will accommodate that type of running for me.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. What's it retail at, Moose?
It's $280, so I reckon...
It's cheap, isn't it, for a Kayano?
Nah, it's
But
gone
wasn't
up
it always
$10.
but wasn't it always the most expensive thing on the wall? And now there'd be heaps more things more expensive than it.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. With the recent super foam introductions to the market, then this like the Kayano, it's been overtaken in that regard, like by the Alpha Flies and the Super Blast, Super Comp Trainers, all basically the PIBA foams are expensive. Carbon plates, they're chucking expensive. Whereas it used to be 10 years ago, like the Kayano was the most expensive thing out there.
Yeah, massive thanks to ASICS for supporting this week's episode. If you're wondering why I didn't ask Croaks on his thoughts, because he hasn't run a step in it.
Yeah, these arrived about the same time that I got told I should stop running.
You walked in them though?
No, I haven't.
You'll get some Ks in him, don't worry about that.
Yeah. I'm going to have plenty of shoes to run him when I get back.
Yeah, stacked up at the door. Listen to question, Croaks. What have we got this week?
Yep. So any training principles or data used by recreational runners that you think are overrated? And that question comes in from Matthew Perotta. Good question.
Great question. I like this. Do you want to go first, Moose? You've got some things written down.
Oh, yeah, I just chuck some stuff down. Because we see a lot of rec runners come through the store and they might sell us things. Like sometimes I'll chat with them about it. Sometimes I'll just sort of let it go through the keeper. But for me, like the 10% rule, that's not applicable to everybody. And that's probably the main training principle out there in terms of how do I increase my running. And people just go, 10%. But who came up with the 10% rule? And what does 10% look like? Most people just go 10% of mileage. So like 1 week you run 20K, and then guess what you run the next week? 22K. Next week after, 44, 45K. And the week after, 49K. And depending on what sort of athlete you are and where you are at your running journey, that can be totally like way too much, or it can be not enough at all. And it doesn't take into account what you're doing within your week either. So if you're going from 20, let's say 30, if you run a 30K and then the next week you do 33K, but you're also changed your structure to do workouts, you're going to run on some hills, you're actually doing a long run this week, then that's enough load. Perhaps you don't want to increase your mileage at all that week. But if it's just simple jogging, then maybe you could go from 30K to 40K and you can make this crazy bloody 30% jump in training. And look, I feel like too many people buy into the 10% thing. That's my first one. I'll let you guys go. I might come back with some others.
I like K-pace. I think a lot of people get like massively caught up on what their average K-pace is for their easy jogging. And that's like the be all and end all. So if it's like, and I follow people on Strava that like jog similar pace to me that would be 10 minutes slower over 10K, but it's a massive thing for them to average a good pace on their jogging. And
yeah,
just like,
that's a big one too.
That's a
big
massive
one.
metric that people use, and it's just like, what pace am I averaging? And I'm like, yeah, don't worry if it's just an easy jog. Just listen to your body. Go on stopwatch face. So that's one I jotted down. I've got another one, Croaks, but what do you got?
Oh, I had one that Moose has already written down here. Moose has got here Garmin estimators. Now there's a lot in the Garmin range. The one I was originally thinking of was when people start talking about how their VO2 max has gone up, like their watch tells them about their VO2 max, and often this data is coming from like a wrist heart rate, which is not accurate anyway. And whenever I see a screenshot of somebody talking about their VO2 max from their watch, I'm just like, don't even bother. Like
total shit.
The other one's like training load increase or something like that, isn't it?
Well, race predictors in terms of what shape you're currently in. Yeah.
What about the day after I ran 220 at the Gold Coast? My prediction told me I was in 224 shape. And
you probably was. You probably were that day. I bet you couldn't even run 224 that day.
Yeah, but then it said I was like in 13:45 pace as well. It always like gives me great 5-10K half and then just kills me on the marathon.
But I find that these Garmin what are they like? I can't think of the word. Anyway, no, I can't get it. But these things that people get caught up with on their watches, Like I find recreational runners are really into that stuff about, oh yeah, my watch tells me that I'm in this shape, or my VO2's gone up by 2 points. Gimmicks. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Gimmicks.
Yeah, and then people screenshot them and then like upload it to their like run as one of the photos.
Yeah. All right. My next one's interval training. So I think that people place way too much emphasis on like the 10% of the running they do throughout the week and not enough on the 90% of running they should be doing anyway. Everyone loves talking about their interval session, their 400 repeats or their K reps or their hill sprints or whatever they've done, but no one cares about the easy jogging that they probably should be or could be doing instead of that in order to get fitter. So, like, I think if someone say that, let's take that same person running 30K a week, and if they came to me and said, I need to get better in 2 months, I need to race this 10K, I'm going to say, okay, you're going to run more. Like, you're going to do more easy running. That's how you're going to get fitter here. In 8 weeks, let's try to get you running as much as possible, because that's going to be the best way or the biggest reason that you'll get fitter and you'll be able to run faster in 10K. I'm not going to go, okay, well, let's stay at 30K. Maybe we increase it, but we're going to do intervals and we're going to do a threshold run and all this other shit. Like, people aren't ready for that. People don't prepare themselves aerobically to handle those sessions because they're running terrible mileage. They're not aerobically strong at all. I want to see a long period of jogging before I start introducing stuff like that.
Yeah, and then that leads into this next one I've got. When they do introduce the workouts, they put too much weight on how the workout went, not how the whole week's gone or the body of work lead into a race. And I've seen people like absolutely be high as a kite or down in the dumps just because of that one workout.
Yeah.
And
living and dying by the workout.
Yeah, let's look at the last 4 weeks. This is great. Like, it's probably a reason why that's gone well or hasn't gone well. But be proud of the prep you've put together.
It's a good point, Nat. I've got a bit of a side note, but I've just been going through one of my preps, like the Doha prep, the marathon prep, and I've been basically making it's like a spreadsheet, I guess, just pulling together the actual program that I had planned and then the Strava notes for each workout just to show people how often things go wrong and all the hiccups along the way that still can lead to a good race. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but I think I'm going to give it to a few of the athletes like that I run with, just as a bit of almost like a confidence booster. That just because their workout went poorly, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do. I'd love to know like a breakdown of what you had planned and what you actually did. Was it like 10% difference or 25 or like 5%? Like, do you know off the top of your head?
I had some stinkers in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just looking at like even just what I had planned and did I execute that and achieve the plan? I'd say 80%. I'd say about 60% of the time I achieved what I wanted.
Yeah.
And the other 40% I either had to delay the workout for a day, or I had to change it mid-workout, or I didn't hit the splits I wanted, or the effort was way too hard for what I wanted.
And wouldn't that be a great thing? Sorry, Croaks. A great thing to know when you're starting a 10-week block. Like, be prepared. Yeah, and it's links into what we were talking about a few weeks ago. Be prepared because 40% of this isn't going to go well. And we're going to have to make change. And that's why it shits me when people just plan like, here's your 10-week marathon block, now send me an invoice. Like, you got to be flexible. You got to be fluid. You got to have communication.
The flip side of that, Moose, is your plan is on the assumption that that's the perfect plan to start with.
Yeah.
Now, what's to say that maybe those hiccups actually enhanced your performance as opposed to maybe if you did the full plan, maybe you end up cooked.
Yeah, don't make the start one.
And you never know because you never got to do the what you thought was the perfect prep.
And coaching is always a guess, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's always trial and error. So I might write down I'm going to do 8 by K at 2:55 pace, and that's me literally just punching numbers into a spreadsheet. That's not like I could have written 250 pace, and that's going to totally change the outcome of how I feel, whether I achieved the workout or not. And so once you start realizing that it's so insignificant, the actual details of the workout, it sort of gives you a lot more clarity around it, and it allows you to run the workouts with better understanding of what you're doing and more clear mind. That's
why I always give paces, rough paces, but also next to it give effort. So 355 or 10K effort, whatever it is, so that if they get out there and it's the weather's crap, then they get hopefully less caught up on the splits and run more to I need to run 10K effort today.
Yep.
Yeah.
You just got to finish it sometimes. You just got to get out of the car for the warm-up. That's the win.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what I meant. There's so much weight put on, this workout didn't go perfectly. Anyway, Any more croaks?
Oh, there's one more here that Moose had written down, which is run streaks, which I see value in run. For me, run streaks are always, if I've been just so inconsistent in my training, I quite like in those early stages just getting a streak going, because one, I start to then build a bit of momentum. But I think what Moose means here is you just maintaining a streak just for the sake of maintaining a streak, even if you're sick, injured, there's no point in that whatsoever.
Yeah. Detrimental.
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. Enjoyed that, Matthew.
Yeah.
Moose on the loose, purchase of the week. What do you got?
You
in the new house yet?
Nah, a couple of weeks, big move. Went and checked it out today.
Big move up the hill.
It's on a bush block, and it is fucking wilderness down in that bush block. Could barely even get to the end of it. It was thick bush. Needs a lot of work,
a
lot of man hours. Yeah, I got a whip. No, I'm talking fucking trees.
Ooh.
Chainsaw type shit.
You got an axe?
Oh, I don't have an axe. I got a chainsaw. That's
good luck.
No one uses axes, mate.
Yeah, I use an axe. I smashed my handle on my axe the other day. Put it in the middle of a log. Snapped it.
Oh, you cut your own wood up?
Yeah, yep.
Oh, I need to see a video of that.
Apart from 2 weeks before Gold Coast, I wasn't allowed to, so I had Carly axing things in the backyard.
You sure it's not one of them little baby tomahawk things?
That's what it looks like now after the handle snapped off it. I'll send a photo in the group chat after this.
Oh, that would be a scene,
anyway,
watching you split wood.
That's what I do. Country living, mate.
No, I'm just this. So it's actually none of those things, purchase or rant, whatever. I thought we'd been on a bit of a good run with the training talk. So it's another training session, another training talk thing. So a lot of athletes find that when they have a bad race and they cross the finish line, and a lot of people falling around really out of breath, and they finish, and it's almost like they didn't try hard enough. It's almost like they didn't exert themselves, and they start to wonder, I could have gone harder, but the race went poorly for me. And then when they have really good races, they find that they cross the line and they're totally spent. They've exerted themselves totally. And I was just considering why that was. And I reckon when you're having a bad race and you know it, and you've lost your goals, that your pre-race goals aren't achievable, you lose the motivation to push yourself or to exert yourself during that particular race. And so it gets to halfway, you realize that your time goal's not happening for that day. And so all of a sudden the motivation to hurt yourself at a slower pace and achieve something that you're not happy with just leaves you, it deserts you. And so you find it hard to really get to the finish line totally spent. So you might cross the line and you're walking around and you're like, oh, fuck, that wasn't that bad, really. Wonder why I ran so poorly. And then the days that you have brilliant days are the ones where you're sprinting to the line and everything's hard as, you've crossed the line and you're falling over and you're heaving on the side. But you've found the motivation to put yourself at the absolute limit you've put yourself in the hurt locker because you were motivated to do it, because the incentive to achieve your goal stayed with you longer through the race, and you had a taste of it, like a carrot in front of you, and that carrot made you work harder and harder and harder all of a sudden until you crossed the line. And so I don't think you need, like, I think that's a good enough explanation for why that happens. You don't need to, a lot of people call themselves soft after that. A lot of people walk away and go, oh, I was mentally weak in that race. But I don't think that's it. I just think that the taste for the gold left you throughout. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because on the flip side, have you had like PBs and amazing races that have felt like effortless and you're like, oh, I should have pushed harder early?
No, I don't have that.
Oh, yeah, okay. Like my 5K, I was just like, I finished way too fast. Like I should have pushed, 2 or 3 laps earlier. And I remember feeling like I'd missed an opportunity to go even quicker. But I think I actually just got the execution right.
But that's...
And then I'm walking around going, oh, shit, like I could have... Yeah.
That's probably my next point. What about you, though, Croaks? I'm just interested. Do you have people that get disappointed in their mental strength when they have a bad race, but it's almost like they give up during the race, but they only give up after the realistic sort of goal has disappeared?
Yeah, not so much. Like if I was putting this into, like, I probably have experienced this the last few years because, like, for most of my running, it's always been about, all right, I'm going into this race to run as fast as I ever have before. And there's that motivation of a PB. And for me, once that motivation of a PB drops off, then the motivation to keep pushing is basically to see what your current shape is. And so if it's not PB, it's easier than just go, oh, this is pretty shit. Like Sydney 10 this year, like, I got to 3K and I'm like, I'm not even going to go close. Well, one, I'm definitely not going to run a PB. Two, I'm probably going to run slower than what shape I thought I was in. I'm not going to like go to the front and push the pace in this group. I'm sort of done. And that's where for me now, like I would need team events because it's more about doing it for the team as opposed to doing it for myself. And doing it for the team would increase my motivation to hurt.
Yeah. You explain what I'm talking about though. Like that was exactly what I'm sort of getting to is you have to, you have to find goals for yourself to push yourself. Like you said, the team goal is a great one, great goal, especially works in cross country. And there's probably guys out there that run cross country who give no fucks about the team. And so that's why it's not a big deal for them.
And getting back to that, Moose, in terms of athletes that I coach, I do often have people say, oh, maybe if I wasn't so soft in the back end, then I would have been able to, run a minute faster, in the marathon. But then you look at their splits and they're still like slowing down, like, significantly. So it's like, well, if you had anything left, like you're coming home strong. So like you're probably cooked anyway. It's not necessarily in the head. It's, you've reached your limit. Because if you're feeling good with 3-4K to go, you're running 5-10 seconds a K faster than what you've been running.
Yep. Yeah. And we sort of, like, we've touched on it a little there, but that the positive feedback cycle is just such a important thing, I think, especially in marathoning. And for me, I learnt that one day in Japan where I only ran 2:28. It was the first marathon, though, that I didn't blow up in. And I remember how amazing it felt to come through the field and pass people. And every time I passed someone, it gave me a little adrenaline surge. And then I would pick the next person off and I got an adrenaline surge again. And I realized, like, this is how you run the fastest that you can. You have to have positivity late in the run to keep yourself in that position where you can bury yourself. You're motivated enough to bury yourself. I think if you get quite negative in the back end, it's very hard to push yourself to dark places. And I think how we can achieve that, like the obvious thing is to say, oh, don't go out too hard. But there's more than that. It's like you have to set yourself up to win in this case. Like you have to set yourself up
to get these sort of positive reinforcements. And I think being realistic in your race goals is probably the major one. So when you when you're planning your race goal, and as an example, like we talked about this ideal world situation when someone comes into a marathon and like they ran a PB in the half, and so all of a sudden their calculators have readjusted for the marathon pace, and they're like, oh geez, I could probably run 3:30 pace for this marathon on a brilliant day, and so 3:30 pace, I'm going to be disappointed if it's not 3:30 pace. And they start, and all of a sudden they hit 3:30 pace, and it's outside what they probably like should be running slightly, because there's some variable that increases their heart rate by 2 or 3 beats, whether it's a few hills, whether it's wind, whether it's some heat, whatever. And they get to halfway, and they've run that with an average heart rate that's like 3 to 5 beats over what it should be. All of a sudden they're a little more fatigued, they're a little more spent, they've churned through the calories a little quicker, they're starting to doubt themselves, and then that negative feedback chain hits. They start to get passed by a few people. They realize, this is quotation mark, it's not my day. That's exactly what that person says after the race. It wasn't my day today. Because I did one workout the previous 12 weeks that suggested that this was a slight possibility. And so I went out at that pace, and then I didn't pull it off, so it wasn't my day. Whereas no, you just made total unrealistic expectation for your race. But if you set it up the opposite way and sort of look at things and create a realistic race plan, then that sets you up for a win. And if you're having a brilliant day, if it's that 1 out of 20 days where everything is going right, always allow yourself a ceiling at the end. Allow yourself off-leash time, where in a marathon it could be 32k, or it could be 33k, or it could be 35k, where you can take the ceiling away. And 7k in a marathon, if you're feeling good, is a lot of time where you can take off. And I don't think anyone has ever finished a marathon and thought, geez, I probably could have gone faster in that. Like, there's just not the possibility to do that, because there's so long in the race where you can pick the pace up. Like, who feels like they left their run too long in the marathon? Have you ever had a marathon like that?
Yeah, I think Croaks did.
Yeah, my last 2K were my fastest. Yeah, I was running like sub 3:10s, I think, towards the end. But at the time, I was still a little bit scared, because you see so many people push it from like 25 to 35k and then have like a disaster in that last like 7k. And I was like already running way faster than like I thought I would run. And so from like 30 to 35, I probably just was like too cautious, because I'm like, I just don't want things to go shit in that last part. And yeah, had a bit too much probably in the last 2k. But,
yeah, I don't know though. Like, you're explaining to me, like, you're explaining why you ran so well, because you had this positive feeling, like you were running through the field. Because what was your split that day? What was your negative split?
So I was 69.40 odd through half, and then my second split was just under 68, 67 something, second half.
Yeah, so massive negative split, which, I mean, like I heard on it was the last spin-off show, Road to Gold Coast, where it was pretty much agreed from all you blokes, you, Brady, you as well, who basically said, oh, if you're negative splitting by 10 seconds or something, then you haven't got it right. You've run. I thought that was total shit.
I thought that was because of the wind, though. Wasn't that the context? Because you were running into a strong wind?
It doesn't matter. It's like, for me, that doesn't matter at all. The wind goes both ways. You literally run the same wind down as you ran back up. It's not like one-way course.
Yeah, but if you're running your fastest 5k from 37k to 42k on that Gold Coast course that day, you've probably left a bit out there. Perfectly. Wasn't that the question?
No, that's where I think you're wrong. That's what I think. Like, that's the perfect way to do it, because I think that finishing strong in these races, it creates this situation where you can hurt
went
yourself.
Past a lot of people.
Yeah, you would have
been
exactly good feeling, and you're running a 10-second off negative split. Like, to me, that's exactly how you want to do it. I hate people that think that positive splitting is the best way to run it. I just don't believe that.
That was more just the last bit into the wind. It wasn't positive split.
So why can't you run into the wind faster? Like, if you've timed it perfectly.
I think because you'd had a tailwind from 15k through to 35k.
Yeah, so you've got your heart rate
and you're
down.
being patient, yeah. So then you can attack that last 5k.
So why were you arguing that this, like, you shouldn't be running fast in that period?
I think it was just the trend of the day that pretty much a lot of people would have slowed from that turnaround point because the wind hit them.
The conclusion was you've got it wrong if you were running that well, basically.
No, the question was, did you leave time out there?
You didn't. In my mind, like, you made up that time in the last 5k, surely. That's where you made your time.
I think the question was about, like, because you only had 5k to make it up, when you could have been picking it up with the tailwind from that 15 to 35k. Like, you had 20k of tailwind. You
can leech so much more
time. You can blow it as
well.
well.
You can pick it up.
Yeah.
That's the problem. People, like, what happens from 35 onwards can be total disasters. You can lose 30 seconds a K just like click of the fingers, or you can pick it up 5-10 seconds a K if you're having a brilliant one. Yeah, I think there's much more. Yeah, I still don't think people get the marathon that right, and I still think blokes running 62 minutes should be doing better than 2:17.
Jeez,
that's
come out swinging here, Croaks. I told you to be Vincent.
It's not about Tim Vincent. It's about that particular.
He's the guy running 62, wasn't he?
Well, it doesn't matter if it's Tim. Like, I like Tim. I like listening to him. But I'm just saying, if I'm running 62 minutes and I'm running 2:17 and I'm running it with a positive, like, I don't think he had a positive split. He ran well, right?
He was pretty even, yeah.
Yeah, I thought, and so I listened to him, and he said I left it out there, right? He said
that's why I was trying to tell him that he hadn't left it out there.
No, he hadn't left it out there.
I was quoting you in that situation.
I think there's better ways to run the marathon, and I think if people change their race plans around that and didn't try to absolutely nail it from the very start of the race, then they're going to come out with a better race result. That's me anyway. That's me.
I'm with that, Moose. My best result was almost a 2-minute negative split. Yeah.
There is no doubt in that, though. That is common knowledge. I think everyone should know. That's the best way to run a marathon.
I don't think that's common knowledge.
I know. Most people can't execute it, though.
Well, I think sometimes they're a bit insecure in that they're not willing to go through halfway slower than their goal pace, because then they start to get negative.
Yeah.
When they shouldn't be getting negative, they should be hitting halfway potentially slower than their goal pace, but they're feeling so good that then, this positive cycle starts, and then they can go to work in the back end.
Absolutely.
And make up
time. Perfect word. Insecure. They don't have confidence in their training, and they don't have confidence in their ability to increase the pace late. And perhaps that comes down to their training. Perhaps they haven't done enough workouts where they've got to the 35k mark of a training run and been able to progress the pace. Because if you do enough of those workouts, you know that you can do that. And you know deep down, that's going to happen in the race. And you can sit back like you did, Croaks, at BWA, and you can go through in 69 whatever and crank it down. Because you're confident in your training. You trust your training, you trust your fitness, and you're patient and disciplined.
Good. Did turn a bit moose on the Lucy. I liked it.
Oh, yeah. I'm fired up for this marathon.
Yeah, you better bloody have a good one at Sydney.
I'm going out at 60. Nothing with a 6 in front of it, that's for sure.
Can't have another DNF from you after Osaka. That wouldn't be a good year.
I've been copping shit about that too. It's the fallback from a lazy banter within our group. Lazy banter is...
I like that. You're only as good as your last race.
Go?
Yeah.
Lazy banter, I reckon.
No, show us how it's all done. Execute. Looking forward to that. What's coming up, fellas? Got anything special coming up in your lives? Croaks, we know what you're doing. Moose, what are you doing? Any
Working
gigs?
this week.
Any Melbourne trips?
Ballarat.
Oh yeah, Ballarat 15K's on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. It's a chance for you to execute a good race.
No, I'm working out. I'm doing a workout.
What workout are you doing?
I'm going to do... I haven't decided yet, actually. Haven't decided. I was going to do the progression run, but I thought that progression run that I just did was the better introduction to training. So I'm thinking I might do some intervals during it.
4x4K, bit of a float in there.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
16K.
too long though. Yeah,
3x4K.
3x4K could be it, mate.
There we go.
That's good. I like it.
That's good. That's a wrap for our 300th episode, but keep an eye out. I'm working on this survey census to ask the listeners. We want to know more about you and how we kind of spoke about it last week, how you found the show, what you enjoy listening to. I've got a few questions kind of penned down here. Who are some of the people you're a fan of in Australian distance running? Because that's always good to know. I've kind of got a big list of some superstar Australian athletes here. Good to know for people who are trying to tee out for interviews. Favourite interviews of all time, I've got a section there for. What's your favourite segment of the show? So keep an eye out on our socials. I'll post this link tomorrow to Patreon, then it will go everywhere Wednesday. How long you been listening to the show? All those kind of survey questions. To figure out who our listeners are and how we can kind of shape the show to suit our listeners. So please, if you get an opportunity, that data would be good if a lot of people filled it out. It's not so good if we just get 5 people. And then, looking forward to seeing some of those responses, fellas. What comes in from the people that were in their ears. Should be good. That's
Great.
a good idea.
It looks fun. I'm interested to learning about the what our average listener looks like. You should do an AI version of our listener.
Oh yeah, cool. Well, I've got I want to know about their marathon PB, or if you haven't ran one, your 10K PB I've got here. What's your favourite distance to race? I've got a few different, and most of it's multiple choice, so it should only take 2 minutes max to fill this thing out, unless you want to type in detailed responses for some of the questions. How many pairs of shoes do you buy per year, Moose? I put that in there.
Yeah, good. That's a good one.
Marathon PB is pretty good because it helps us with the spin-off shows as well. Because if we got a heap of listeners that are in that 3:30 marathon range, then potentially it's worth doing a road to wherever for people that are looking to run under 3:30 or 3:20 or whatever it is.
Yep, and I know some people did hit our DMs after we spoke about this last week. So if you want to just copy and paste some of that stuff into here, so it's all in the one spot, that would be it's going to be really interesting just to find out who our listeners are and know more about them so we can shape the show to suit them. We're done, boys. Episode 300 in the bag. Hopefully we're doing this for another 300.
Share us off.
Hey?
Share us off.
Get Zach to lift us off. Do it all again.
Week,
you won't be here next week, Croaks. So we'll save some of these responses till the week after when you're back here. It'd be good to kind of talk about. But all the best for next week. And then we'll see you in a fortnight.
Sounds good.
See you, fellas.
Good luck, mate. All the best.
Thank you. Bye. Special thanks to ASICS for sponsoring this episode of the Inside Running Podcast. Stability has never felt better than with the Gel-Kayano 30. Updated with a 4D guidance system for support right when you need it, and PureGEL technology for softer landings every time. Visit asics.com or your specialty running store to grab your pair today.
Sunset. world.